I am Bridget Lake, president of the Oviedo Winter Springs Regional Chamber of Commerce, and we are here with Chris Anderson, running for Supervisor of Elections, serving Seminole County. Our premier virtual Eastside Regional Hob Nob is presented by Lucas Land Group, an Oviedo-based family-run business with interests throughout Central Florida. Our sponsor, Duke Energy, our radio sponsor, 96.5 WDBO, and our website sponsor, Palm Tree Tech Center. Now, before we begin our intriguing conversation, let us watch a quick commercial by our sponsor, Duke Energy.
I know what I want from my energy company. I want to know that my power is always on and that my family's energy is cleaner and safer. That's why, as a Duke Energy lineman, I'm working hard to make that possible. I absolutely feel honored to make a difference in our community. It's a good feeling knowing that I'm helping to build a smarter, reliable energy future for all of us, for my family and yours.
And now we are back with Chris Anderson, running for Supervisor of Elections, serving Seminole County. He is one of our candidates at the Eastside Regional Hob Nob. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you here. And you are currently serving as the Supervisor of Elections. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I usually always start off, Bridget, by first thanking you for having me. But I always tell people I could have been a statistic. Everything that lined up in my life growing up as a child, from the drug abuse to not having two parents in the home to witnessing, alcohol abuse, all those things. I had an option of being in the backseat of a police car, and I chose to be in the front. And I didn't allow my adversities in life to dictate my future. Instead, I decided to work hard because I believe that hard work wins. Booker T. Washington said it best: merit is rewarded regardless of the skin color that it's under. And if he can do it as a former slave, then I can do it as the first African-American constitutional officer in Seminole County.
That is amazing. So it sounds like you've been through a lot of adversity in your life. Do you want to tell us, get a little bit more into that, or talk to us about your family and growing up?
Sure. I was raised by a single father. He tried to be a good father, but he had a lot of demons. Now was consumed with drugs and alcohol. I would come home to beer cans, crack pipes. Sometimes the electricity was turned off. I remember very vividly having a conversation back then. I have to relate this for some folks, especially young people. This is back when you could plug the phone into the wall and talk on the phone, and it wasn't connected to the electricity. Having conversations with my then girlfriend, now wife. I've been married for 20 years to my best friend, and we have 3 beautiful children. Talking to her by candlelight, doing homework. The water wasn't running. I just come from football practice, so I had to make a decision on how to take a bath at night, and I had to use toilet water. These are things that are very, very personal. They have affected me in such a way, but I developed a victor mentality. I understand that, some people in life start off from third base and others start off from first, but I still have to round the bases, and I have to work hard. So, January of last year, Governor DeSantis appointed me as a supervisor of elections, and I believe it's because of my mentality.
And you have a background in law enforcement. Can you tell us about that?
So yeah, after I got out of the Army, I went into the Army after after high school. Served. I was in basic training during September 11th. Went to Afghanistan Thanksgiving Day. Ate turkey in Germany. I got out of the military and I went to flight school. Actually, most people don't know this about me, but this is an interesting fact. I actually wanted to be a pilot when I grew up. I loved being a pilot, and I went to flight school. And then I was offered a job as a deputy sheriff in Indian River County. Never thought I'd get into law enforcement, but I spent 12 years improving the quality of life of the communities that I serve.
So you mentioned the Army also. How do you think that that prepares you as in your role as supervisor of elections?
Well, I always say, you know, the military built a strong foundation of selfless service, and it solidified my patriotism. As a young man, I had the opportunity to go overseas and see that, wow, this world is not flat, and that I thought I had it bad, all the things I explained to you that I had to overcome, but I couldn't imagine what it was like in those third world countries growing up. There's no electricity, there's no running water, there's not a McDonald's on the corner or a 7-Eleven. You know, one of the most profound moments of my life as a young man, one of the Afghans, they were cleaning the base, Bagram Air Force Base, and they would come and clean and we would pay them. And the soldiers would hang their clothes up to dry. And I guess this pair of underwear had fallen on the ground or whatever. It had been run over by trucks. It was absolutely disgusting. And one of the Afghans, they picked it up and they just said to me, Mihab. And I thought to myself, I had it bad, but never that bad. Never bad enough to pick up a pair of awfully dirty underwear and be in need of it so much that I would have to ask another man if I could have these dirty underwear. So it changed my life forever.
So it really sounds like having the life that you had growing up, and as difficult as that had seemed at that time, being in the military kind of put that all in perspective to you. It
really did. And it also gave me a chance to unlock my potential as a leader. There was a lot of transition taking place in the military at that time, and I quickly rose through the ranks as a squad leader of 9 other soldiers, and that's where I earned my Army Achievement Medal in leadership. Was from stepping up to the plate and taking on the task and getting it done. And I kind of look at the same way here. I wasn't put in the position as a squad leader, but when the opening came up, I had to fill that position. And the same thing as the supervisor of elections. I was appointed to this position, and now as I did in the military, I have to step up as a leader and guide this office in its fair practices in administration, elections administration.
So let's talk about the supervisor of elections position. How long have you been in that position right now?
About year and a half.
And already. Do you think that position should be a nonpartisan position?
There's certainly some reasons why it would be a good idea for it to be a nonpartisan position, but that in itself would not drive a candidate not to be, or the supervisor not to be partisan. It has to have, it doesn't matter if you are partisan or what's on paper, it's what's in your heart. And you have to be a person of integrity, and it has to be built in to you prior to you getting into office. So although this office is partisan, I don't view it as such. And I will tell you, neither do my colleagues. I had a chance to be in the room with 66 other colleagues. And some of them are Democrats, some of them are Republicans, and I never felt that way. I mean, you know, the political divisiveness that we feel in what's going on today, within that room with the 66 other colleagues, I felt like, man, I felt like I was back in the military. You know, you were a veteran, Bridget, and thank you for your service. You know what that camaraderie spirit feels like. And that's what the military does. It brings people together from all different walks of life, and it forces them to rally around a centered goal. And that's what happens with these supervisors. We're in this room, we're talking about how do we effectively and fairly administer elections above partisan politics. My mentor is Bill Cowles, who is a Democrat, but never have I ever felt any partisanship between the two of us. You know, I was just talking to another Democratic colleague of mine from a county up north. He was reelected without opposition last week. And, he sent me a message and he just said, Chris, we're so happy to have you. And he's like, I've heard that from the other colleagues, and that's coming from a Democrat, so the partisanship just doesn't exist in our business. We build that culture as supervisors within our own organization. And it has nothing, and we don't need the legislator to tell us to be nonpartisan.
Now, let me ask you one last question. Having been in the position for a year and a half, if you get reelected, where do you see pushing it in your next term?
Well, the office has to innovate. One of the things I noticed is, man, we have a lot of paper here. And for a supervisor of elections, that's pretty common. We, on election day, 500,000 pieces of paper more likely go out, and we have to account for every one of them. And you're going to get a taste, electronically, you'll get a kind of an idea of that with the Hob Nob. But there's some things that we can do differently, and we can use, technology to our advantage. And, your voter information card. You don't need it to vote. It's an information card that we as supervisors provide to voters. But what if we could digitize it? I'm looking forward to developing a Vote Seminole app. That's what we're working on right now. And we'll pick it up pretty heavy next year. That would personalize the voter guide to you. So Bridget, you can press the app and it would tell you who, if you lived inside of a municipality, who your representation is there, how to contact them, the same for county, state, federal, all the way up. And also you can communicate with the supervisors. The supervisor, you can communicate with us. And these, as we're doing right now with the Zoom technology, we need to use our technology to our advantage, and it saves us a lot of money and time. To do a countywide mailer to send out a voter registration card costs $200,000. And so my plan is to make the office more environmentally friendly and also be fiscally responsible in saving tax dollars.
Well, thank you, Chris. Is there anything else you would like to add before we wrap this up?
Bridget, my campaign has my name on it, but it's never been about me. I want voters to know that what I plan on doing is protecting their vote. And that's from a many different atmospheres. That means, being strong with cybersecurity, making sure that our elections administration is transmitted on a private tunnel. That's what we've done since I've been in office. And I want to improve those things. But I want everyone to know why I chose to put my name on the line. And it's because everything I do challenges the status quo to improve the quality of life of each and every voter. I did that when I was in the military, when I was in law enforcement, and I just happened to be the supervisor. And tomorrow, if I'm not the supervisor, I'll continue to improve the life of others. And I do that without personal gain. And that's what is so important. And that's what separates me from any other candidate, that it's not about me. It's about what I will do for everyone else.
Well, thank you so much. That is Chris Anderson, running for Supervisor of Elections, serving Seminole County. He is one of our candidates with the Eastside Regional Hob Nob. We have our virtual Hob Nob on June 30th, starting at 5:30. Check him out with our other one-on-one interviews at esrhobnob.com. Chris, thank you so much for coming out today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Bridget. I appreciate it.
And thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you.